The map knows where you didn't go. In the profound stillness of a forgotten attic, a sanctuary where time seemed to slow, almost halt, and dust motes pirouetted in the ethereal, attenuated shafts of sunlight, she unearthed it. It wasn't merely stored away, neglected in some dusty corner, but rather it felt as though it had been meticulously placed, patiently anticipating her arrival, a profoundly peculiar and intricately hand-drawn map. This artifact was unlike any cartographic rendering she had ever encountered. Its ancient parchment, brittle and fragile with the passage of countless seasons, paradoxically pulsed with an undeniable, vibrant life. A soft, almost imperceptible hum, a subtle vibrational resonance emanated from its surface, a melodic whisper that resonated just beyond the auditory spectrum, teasing the very edge of hearing. She extended a hesitant hand, her fingertips, tracing the faded, intricate lines and delicate contours of its terrain. As she did, a curious yet intensely comforting warmth began to propagate, spreading gradually through her fingertips, thence upward through her hand, and finally diffusing throughout her entire being. At first, its visual narrative appeared comforting, familiar. It seemed to meticulously sketch the winding, well-trodden streets of her childhood town, a place irrevocably etched deep within the quiet, hallowed chambers of her memory, a landscape of formative experiences. The gnarled, ancient oak tree standing sentinel by the meandering creek, its branches reaching like arthritic fingers towards the sky, the weathered, moss-covered stone wall, delineating the boundary of the schoolyard, holding countless echoes of childish laughter and whispered secrets, the delightfully crooked path, worn smooth by generations of footsteps, that meandered its way to her beloved grandmother's house, a beacon of unconditional love and warm, freshly baked bread, each minute detail. Each nuanced stroke of the hand that rendered them was depicted with an uncanny, almost supernatural precision. This exquisite fidelity to her personal history stirred a quiet, persistent ache in the very core of her chest, a poignant blend of nostalgia and an elusive sorrow for times irrevocably past. Yet, as her gaze, now imbued with a burgeoning sense of profound introspection, lingered upon the map's aged surface, an almost imperceptible yet profoundly significant shift began to unfold. The familiar, comforting lines, once so reassuringly solid, began to blur, to waver, and then, with an ethereal grace that defied logical explanation, they began to reform, to morph. New roads, previously unmapped, unheard of, unfathomable, materialized with an unsettling clarity. These nascent thoroughfares stretched into uncharted alien landscapes, their intricate paths diverging wildly and then converging unexpectedly in labyrinthine patterns that utterly defied and contradicted her most deeply held recollections, her very understanding of geographical logic. Landmarks, grand and imposing yet utterly unknown to her, materialized from the very fibers of the paper, ancient, forgotten structures, their architectural styles, hinting at epochs long past, rising with silent majesty, casting long, silent shadows that seemed to stretch into the abyss of her own forgotten history. And then, with a crescendo of profound disquietude, the most unsettling transformation of all began its relentless progression. The map began to depict fleeting, ephemeral moments from a past she had absolutely no conscious recollection of, faint, almost ghostly sketches of faces, faces she should have known, but didn't, their features blurred by the mists of time, hushed, whispered conversations, their content, tantalizingly just beyond her grasp, yet carrying an undeniable emotional resonance, fragmented scenes like snapshots from a forgotten dream, playing out in an exquisite palette of sepia tones, each vignette hinting at a narrative just out of reach. A profound sense of unease, a burgeoning disquietude that bordered on an existential tremor, began to settle over her. Yet this apprehension was inextricably mingled with an irresistible magnetic pull, a compelling curiosity that anchored her to the strange artifact. This wasn't merely a map, she realized with a growing sense of awe. It was a living, breathing canvas, a sentient entity reshaping itself with a whispered secret, an untold story that yearned to be heard. Each time she averted her gaze, if only for a fleeting moment, and then returned her focus to the map, the relentless, mesmerizing transformation continued, unfolding with an unwavering, almost predatory insistence. The very air around her seemed to thicken, charged with the palpable energy of revelation. The map, with an unnerving, almost sentient intelligence, began to trace the intricate trajectory of her life, not in the linear, forward progression she had always known, but rather in a startling and profound reverse. It meticulously, painstakingly filled in the missing pieces of her personal narrative, lacunae she had never even known existed, let alone recognized as lost. These were not mere empty spaces, she understood with a chilling clarity, but rather intricate, complex lacuna in the richly woven tapestry of her existence, voids waiting to be replenished, forgotten smiles, moments of pure, unadulterated joy that had vanished from her conscious mind, unsaid words, expressions of love or regret that had remained unspoken, now resonated with the phantom echo choices, unmade, pivotal decisions that had been deferred or deliberately avoided, now shimmered with the weight of consequence. They all began to unfurl like ancient, fragile scrolls brought forth from some forgotten crypt, each revelation, a delicate, almost agonizing whisper, reverberating across the vast, echoing chasm of time. The map, in its profound and often unsettling wisdom, became a resonant mirror, reflecting not merely what was or what had been, but what profoundly might have been, a spectral alternate reality, a picnic by a sun-dappled river, its name and location now tantalizingly beyond her recall, yet alive with the warmth of shared laughter, a fleeting encounter with a stranger, their eyes holding a profound, almost cosmic sadness that mirrored her own nascent melancholia. A stormy, rain-lashed afternoon spent in the quiet comfort of reading by a window that was distinctly not hers, its view a panorama of an alternate existence. Each new revelation was a delicate, almost painful whisper, a haunting echo reverberating across the vast, echoing chasm of time, stirring a deep, resonant chord within the very core of her soul, awakening dormant emotions. The map, in its unfolding drama, was not merely showing her a different past. It was revealing a different self, a ghost of a possibility. Each new turn on its ever-changing, almost fluid surface inexorably pulled her closer, drawing her towards a momentous choice she had, long ago, deliberately avoided, a pivotal fork in the road, where the divergent currents of love, regret, and destiny had converged in a silent yet powerfully resonant dance. It was a path she had glimpsed only in the most vivid and haunting of her dreams, a life unchosen, a series of possibilities, folded away and forgotten within the labyrinthine corridors of her subconscious. The map was not just a guide, it was a relentless force, leading her back with an almost terrifying precision to that single pivotal nexus moment, illuminating the alternate self that had quietly, perhaps even tragically, blossomed there, unseen, unheard, unacknowledged. It wasn't a sentimental journey fueled by mere nostalgia, but rather a profound and inescapable reckoning, a confrontation with the unlived. To follow the map now, to submit to its silent, persistent summons meant confronting the spectral version of herself that might have been, the aspirations she had consciously or unconsciously laid aside, the love she had perhaps unwisely foregone, the opportunities she had let slip through her fingers like grains of sand. It meant facing the phantom ache of a life not lived, a melody unsung, a story untold. The very air in the attic, once merely musty, now grew heavy, almost viscous with the palpable weight of her profound contemplation. The pungent yet strangely alluring scent of aged paper and forgotten memories, mingling to create an almost intoxicating perfume of the past. The map, in its quiet, insistent, almost sentient way, demanded a decision, a choice that would echo through the very fabric of her existence. Would she then finally step into that beckoning path, embracing the lingering echoes, the spectral whisper of a different destiny, a future that had once been denied? Or would she, with a heavy heart and a profound sense of resignation, turn definitively away, letting the fragile, interwoven threads of that unlived life irrevocably unravel into the vast, silent abyss of what might have been, never to be rewoven? The momentous choice hung suspended, an ethereal, unanswerable question, meticulously etched onto the ancient, breathing parchment, inviting her, compelling her to finally choose the path she had once, long ago, with a naive certainty, chosen to leave definitively behind, perhaps to her eternal regret, perhaps to her ultimate salvation. The map pulsed, a living heart in her trembling hands, its unspoken question hanging heavy in the dust-laden air, awaiting her answer, her surrender, her final defining choice.